Hello, 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 it's bugmancx here. Welcome back to Minecraft The Journey. This is episode 51, and this episode is part 2 of a 3-part set of special episodes where we're taking a look back at all of the things that I overlooked about Minecraft's early game development history when I first started recording this series. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, then go back one episode and start from there. If you haven't watched this series before, well, go back to episode 1 and have a good time. I'll see you in a while. But for now, let's get into it. For part 2, we'll focus mostly on INDEV and INFDEV, but first, we're going to go back to Classic and look at a classic feature of Classic. Yeah. Back in the Classic period of Minecraft, whenever Notch would join a multiplayer server, his name would appear in a yellow colour, or gold if you will. This of course was to highlight his VIP status. We should be able to give this a try because we can create and join our own Classic multiplayer server as any player name that we want. So let me see if I can make this work. Alright, well here I am on a 0.0.23a_01 multiplayer server, and on my other computer over here I am just going to join in as Notch. Here we go, ready? It's me! It's me, Notch! Hello, why isn't my mouse working? Yeah, my mouse is working. I didn't click in the window. Hi! Hi. I don't know what Notch sounds like, but look at that. Isn't that cool? He's got a kind of yellow name, whereas my character has the classic white name. So yeah, it's true. The authentication for usernames doesn't have to work in these versions if you don't want it to, so you're just free to join as any user that you want, including Notch. When I was recording the first episode, I went straight from 0.27 survival test to 0.30 and missed some very important components to the game. In version 0.28, sheep were first added to the game. In a screenshot from Notch showcasing their behaviour during development, you can see that the original sheep dropped a red cloth block, and Notch even mentioned the fact that they would produce food as well. Before 0.28 was released to players, Notch posted a video showing the new behaviour of the sheep, but they were shown as dropping white blocks, not red, so the screenshots must have been from an early development test. Who knows? Perhaps the fact that the original bed is red in colour despite being made of white wool blocks pays some sort of homage to this. When Notch released 0.28, it was released in creative mode, without the ability to go into survival, and this means that we weren't ever able to experiment with the sheep because it would only appear during survival. Fortunately, thanks to the Betacraft launcher, we can use this to force the version to switch to survival mode, and this will allow us to see the original sheep. Check them out. It was back in this version that the ability for sheep to eat grass blocks was added, and each time a sheep eats grass from a block, that block will turn back to a dirt block. Sheep in this version would drop wool when punched, and after a random amount of grass had been eaten by the sheep, it'll regrow its wool. I love this animation of the sheep's head sliding down as it munches on the grass, definitely different to what we see in later versions. I mentioned earlier that the original sheep was designed to drop cloth blocks with the first punch and then drop food when it was killed, so if we just punch this sheep a few times, you can see it drops mushrooms, just like the pig. I suppose that mushrooms were the basic placeholder for food items, and proper food would be added later. The code for the sheep changed so many times over the next few months. During INDEV, released on 23rd of December 2009, the ability for sheep to spawn was removed, but it was then added again a few weeks later in the February 3rd release. This time though, they would spawn in without any wool and could no longer drop food items or eat grass to regrow their fleeces. It was around this time that the cloth block colour would change when dropped, from white to grey, and it stayed this way until June 27th, where sheep would drop white wool again. Talk about indecisive. We've reached INDEV and specifically 2010-01-05 here with our good friend Rana. This version introduced the studded armour. Now, I always thought that this studded armor was just a texture that was unused in the game, but it turns out that this... Hi, Rana. It turns out that this version actually has it in the inventory, which is really cool. And you'll also notice that there is a quiver as well. So these are textures for items that were never used, but in this version actually exist. So that's really, really cool. So the studded armor, let's have a look at it. It's a little bit like the leather armor and the chainmail combined, I suppose. It does look that way. I'm not sure what the crafting recipe would be for it, and I can wear it, although it looks like I won't be able to see what I look like because my player icon is currently Rana, and there's no F5 mode. F5 mode just toggles the rain at this point, so that's a real shame. Oh well. But it's pretty amazing that I've actually had a chance to get my hands on this. Oh, look at it. Look at it down there. Oh, that's so cute. Let's put another one there. Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny because you might remember that the items like the shovel and everything, they all render in this way when you carry them around in your inventory. That's funny. And of course they have no durability around this time, so that's fun. But I'm getting off track. I also am curious about what this is. It's a torch. But look at it, it's tiny. Hang on. Look at that! Why is it so small? It's teeny tiny and it just... Oh, they all went back in my inventory. It's teeny tiny and they all just sit there. Wow, that's weird. Let's put some more down on the ground. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's unusual. I've not seen it like that before. But I'm so glad that we had a chance to actually have a look at these items. Now, quiver. Oh, look at it. I kind of wish this existed in the game because I just think it's a cool addition. I mean, especially later on in the game with the addition of spectral arrows. Can you just imagine having a quiver with your different arrow types contained inside of it, which didn't clog up your whole inventory space? I really think that this is something that Mojang should consider bringing back into the game. But let's have a look here. I guess it looks pretty cool on the ground. There's not much we can do with it, though, because we can't equip it. There's nowhere to put it. Oh, I can put it in my armor slot. But then again, can I put anything in my armor slot? Yeah, I can wear an apple as a chest plate. Wow, I'd love to see that. That would be very strange indeed. But I do have arrows, so if I press tab, no, nothing happens. It says I have 20 arrows, but the tab key should be firing them. And if I look at the options, controls, there's nothing for doing the arrow firing. So that's a real shame. But hey, quiver, we got to see it. I'm really excited about that. How's this for a weird INDEV glitch? If I start to break this block with my axe, which is the wrong tool, and then while I'm doing that, switch to the shovel using the number 1 on my keyboard. Look at that texture glitch. It's really weird, right? It seems to cycle through all sorts of different textures in the game, as well as giving it a variety of... Oh, did that one wrong. Giving it a variety of different colors at the same time. Yeah, what a bizarre one. Now, the only way this works is if you choose the wrong tool first and then choose the correct tool afterwards. Isn't it really weird? And you can just hold it down and it will keep cycling through these textures infinitely, it seems. It's suspected that this bug was introduced because around this time they were introducing the functionality which would allow you to use tools made of different materials to mine blocks at different speeds. I also got the crafting recipe for the painting very wrong in these early versions, as it was a wool block, or a cloth block, surrounded by planks, and not sticks that would allow you to craft a painting. I'm in INDEV 2010-0129, and it was this version which introduced the emerald block. The emerald block is actually, it becomes the diamond block, but it was called the emerald block for this version only. And at the time when we were building in this version of the game, this entire island had already been pre-generated, which means all of the blocks below me, all of the ores and everything like that were already there. So unfortunately, no new blocks could be added to the game we were playing. But we can come here into a brand new world and explore it. So I'm going to get some materials prepared and then dig down into the caves below and see if I can find some official emeralds. Well, here's my first hurdle. It looks like crafting hasn't been added yet, so I can't even make myself a workbench to make a pick or anything like that. I didn't even realize that. So I suppose, Steve, I'm going to have to dig down with my bare hands, see if we can find a cave. It looks like I've found a cave, so I'm on the hunt now. It looks like a reasonably big cave as well, which delights me because it means no digging. I'm using this flint and steel to try and light my way because I don't have any torches and I can't craft any either. Let's go down this way. It's very dangerous. Hopefully... Oh, you frightened me. Hopefully I'll find one reasonably soon. If I just keep exploring, I'm sure I'll find something. Look, there they are. Hang on, I've just put the fire out that allows you to see them. There's the emerald block. Look how many, look how big it is. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 pieces of emerald at least. Oh, I think I burnt myself. Okay, let's see if we can collect some of this. I'm pretty sure it's very dark. I do apologize, but it's the best I can do. I should be able to light up there. Yeah. Now I should be able to break this with my fist, I think, and I'm not sure what it will drop. Oh, it drops a diamond. So is this, well, for me this is a diamond, but is this actually an emerald item? Not sure. I guess it is. As I said earlier, in the next version, this item and this block gets renamed to the diamond and to the diamond ore. So I guess it's fitting. It does look more like a diamond than an emerald. An emerald is a green in color. Yeah, that's a big vein of emeralds. What's interesting is you actually can get more than one emerald per block, which is cool. That one only gave me one, but let's try this one and see how many it will drop for me. So I've got 16 on me right now already, and there's another 3, up to 19, and there are more emerald ore blocks just tucked away behind here, so this is a much bigger vein than I expected. Look at this, an incredible 43 emeralds. That was one huge vein of emeralds. If you look at these as diamonds, that is the most diamonds I have ever got in a single vein. Wow. In INDEV 2010-0205, giants were added. I did mention these during my original episodes, but we never got to encounter one. The idea of the giant is that these would act like any hostile mob, and it was technically a giant zombie. Notch had suggested other ideas for other mob variations, like the burning spider and the cobble creeper at one point during a Brocraft stream, but we never got to see these ideas develop. Notch also uploaded a video showcasing the giant, but because the version they were added in is unfortunately lost, it's not possible to see them naturally. Notch removed their ability to spawn, saying that the mob was too overpowered. Even though this is the case, we can take a look at the original giant because although it can't spawn in naturally, they can still exist. We can do that by modifying the level.dat file, and we can spawn in our own zombie mob or our own giant zombie mob and take a look at it. Giants are almost 12 blocks tall, which is 6 times the height of a zombie, and have 100 health points. They'll do 26 damage in easy mode, 50 in normal mode, and a whopping 75 points of damage in hard mode. The version of INDEV that added giants also added the game difficulty levels. Because the giant is so huge, it can't really reach any players, and it can only attack a player if it's standing on top of it. In INDEV 2010-0206, 2 textures were added to the game files which resemble a table and chairs. Notch's blog made several references to adding furniture to the game, but these textures never ended up being used for any blocks or items. If you use a map editor and force these blocks to apply to wheat crops, they do kind of resemble a table and a chair, but we don't know if this is the way these blocks were intended to be used or represented. Here we are back in Minecraft INDEV. Oh, specifically version INDEV 2010-0218. And it was in this version in which armor was made craftable. But did you know that chainmail armor is technically accessible and technically craftable? No, I didn't originally know that either. We need a special item for that, and it is fire. Now you can't technically get this item in survival Minecraft, so I have put this into my inventory, but I think it is worth having a look at. I mean, anyway, have a look at how cool that block looks. It's awesome. It looks really cool on the ground like that. But if we head over to the crafting grid, I should be able to pick these up and turn them into chainmail helmet. Let's craft up everything. Chainmail leggings, chainmail chest plate, and chainmail boots. That is the first time that I have ever crafted chainmail armor, and I suspect it will be the last. Can I put it on? Yes I can. That's awesome. Wow. I don't know if we have F5 mode, only reverse F5 mode in this particular version. But wow, look at me, that is super fancy. Super fancy. And as for the fire block, I wonder, it just looks so cool. I wonder if I can place it. Yeah, I sure can. Do you think we could also burn down the INDEV house? Come on, let's do it. So I don't know how I overlooked this critically important feature of Minecraft, but I flew by without even realizing that golden apples had been added to the game. Let's have a quick recap of the history of the apple and the golden apple. In INDEV 0.31, version 2009-1231-2, apples were added, and in 2010-0111-1, apples became functional and edible, restoring 2 hearts of health, but you couldn't obtain them legitimately, other than getting them from the INDEV chests in the very beginning. As for golden apples, well, so the story goes, forum user JTE had put together a crafting recipe guide which contained a joke recipe, saying that if you killed a player named Notch, you would get an apple drop, and if you surrounded these in gold ingots, you'd be able to craft a golden apple. This was poking fun at the fact that apples had been implemented in the game for so long, but were still not obtainable. Back then, Notch was very active in the community and implementing all sorts of ideas from forum posts and player suggestions, and by the next release, the very next day in fact, 2 new features were added to the game. One, that players named Notch would drop apples upon death, and second, that golden apples were now craftable, but instead with gold blocks rather than gold ingots. With the addition of the respawn feature, it was technically possible to set up an apple farm by farming Notch. For me, it was easy to overlook this at the time, because the 2010-02-27 version was fairly complicated to use. It was the first version of INDEV, and there was no real way to save the game, or hack the inventory, or run a server, or anything like that. Even trying to test this in multiplayer wouldn't be possible until at least Alpha 1.2.3, when health and damage were implemented in multiplayer. This is something we should keep an eye on, because it's something that I really want to play with and test out. If we can. Imagine setting up a Notch farm. So if you've got any suggestions about how to do this, let me know. As for the golden apple itself, we can take a look at it in INDEV. I've just chosen INDEV 2010-0608 here because I can change my level.dat file and put them in my inventory manually. Because I've technically put these in my inventory, I'm able to stack them to 64, but the reality is you can't actually do that. You can only have one at a time. I'm left clicking here. I can't place any of these and I can't stack them. I can only put down what I already have. So let's find out how much health is restored when we eat one of these golden apples. I've taken myself down to 1 heart, as you can see. So let's chomp away. Oh wow, okay. It gives you full health back. That's pretty decent. So I think if I just take continuous drowning damage, I should just be able to eat golden apples over and over. I mean, that's the same as any other food really, right? But the fact that you get a full set of hearts restored is pretty great. Now you see me, now you don't. Now you see me, now you don't. Now you see me, now you don't. Minecraft, you're full of weird bugs. Thank you everybody for watching episode 51 of Minecraft The Journey. This is part 2 of the recap where we're going back and having a look at all that stuff that I missed. You know it all by now. So I want to thank you so much for joining me in this episode, and please do feel free to let me know down in the comments below if you discovered anything in this episode or the last one that you didn't already know about. I would be very interested to hear for myself. I hope you'll join me in part 3. If you didn't watch part 1 and you watched this first, you've done it all out of order. That's okay. Please do join me though in part 3 where we finish off this epic recap, and I will see you in that episode. Until then, this has been bugmancx. You've been watching Minecraft: The Journey. Bye bye.